Speaking of anybody, we ask people all week or to send in questions for Bill Kristol. You can send your questions into us on Twitter or Instagram at Politicon, or you can email them podcasts@politicon.com. And these are questions, Bill, that folks sent in specifically for you. We do a little quick fire round with some listener questions.
I'll be quick.
Jesse from Sacramento asks, should Republicans change their response to COVID after Trump?
I think so. And I think if Biden does the right thing, they should support him. And if they think he should be doing a few things extra or differently, they should say so. But they shouldn't be in this insane culture war of wearing a mask means you're not a real man or something like that.
Grace from Alexandria, up in Virginia, not far from you. If you could say something positive about the Trump administration, what would it be?
Well, I think some of their appointments, some of the judicial appointments were good. I think the focus on China as a big geopolitical problem was sensible. Not all the subordinate policies weren't. So I think there were areas where Trump was kind of going in the right direction, and some of the people who worked for him were trying to go in the right direction in policy. I think what overwhelmed it for me, though, was the demagoguery, the divisiveness, the real damage to our kind of civic culture.
Okay, Nikki from Portland. Nikki, sorry about this. I don't know if you're Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon, or there's probably another Portland somewhere else too. But Nikki asks, I'm pro-Biden and anti-Kamala. Do the Republicans have a message to cater to me in 2020?
I think, look, they're a team now, and let's see how Kamala Harris does. And she's never been at this level before. I respect her. She wouldn't have quite been my first choice for vice president, but I'd say let's give everyone a chance. I guess that's the one thing I would say. It's a very tricky people. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are inheriting a recession, a pandemic, a complicated world out there, for a certain amount of repair that has to be done after Trump, a very divisive and hyperpolarized politics. So I'm willing to give people a kind of the benefit of the doubt to start with.
Helen from Racine, Wisconsin asks, will attacking Democrats as socialists be as effective as it used to be?
I would not have thought so. I just look at Biden or Kamala Harris for that matter, and I think, they're not socialists. They're decent Democratic socialists, incidentally, but they're not them, And incidentally, Biden literally defeated the one, explicit socialist in the Senate and defeated Elizabeth Warren, who, sort of carrying the torch for a certain kind of left-wing part of the Democratic Party. Biden beat them, and it didn't save him from being attacked as a socialist or a ton of other Democratic candidates. I'm a little surprised, honestly, or sort of spooked by how effective that attack has been. But it's something, if I were a Democratic strategist, I would say this in terms of the last election. I think Spanberger said this, Michael Spanberger said this, both the socialist attack and the defunding the police attack. I think they're both pretty unfair, but they really resonated. So Look, politics is about what people think, not just about, real reality. And if that's what people think, and if you're a political party, you've got to address it.
I wish more people in my party would realize that it's not about reality; it's about people's perceived.
Well,
reality.
It's about both, but if you got to ask yourself, well, what has my party done over the last year, maybe the last 10, 20 years, to let people get that impression, and probably go out of your way to fix it, just like in any other situation, right? If people have a certain negative impression, you sort of have to begin by trying to. That shouldn't be the only thing you do. You advance your positive agenda, but you do need to take. They sort of assumed those were ridiculous accusations that they didn't even have to deal with, and probably in retrospect they should have dealt with them more.
Well, and also Joe Biden won. He wasn't tagged with they tried to tag him with the socialist label. Right. It didn't work because, as you mentioned, he's been around long enough that we sort of knew him. But it's a little harder to make the argument that it didn't work down the line in places like North Carolina, where Cal Cunningham lost to Tom Tillis, who was not popular as a senator in this state. And people like Susan Collins, who people expected to lose, she was able to win against a relatively popular Democrat there. So there were other people who were attacked, who got tagged as socialists, and it possibly worked. Tomas from Miami asked a question that I had to have explained to me. He asked, is there room on Elba for all the Trumps?
Yeah,
that's good. So you knew what that meant. I didn't know what it meant.
I don't know. Yeah, vaguely, Napoleon and all that. Yeah, but as you said earlier, I think probably we should hope that Trump enjoys playing golf at Mar-a-Lago, and fades away rather than.
What do you think he's going to do?
Center of our politics.
What do you think? What is your prediction? Because I've asked everybody in the last few weeks what their prediction for Trump's next act was. I don't think anybody has actually believed he would go through with running for president. Do you think he's going to announce that he will? What do you think he hopes to do?
Oh, I think he very much likes having the power to make and break everyone. And to do that, you sort of have to at least say you're considering running for president and you want to be at least a kingmaker in the party, if not the king of the party. I don't rule out him running. He's looking at Biden and thinking, well, I'll be that age in 4 years. And he thinks maybe as healthy as Biden. He survived COVID and everything. So I don't rule out him running again.
Hey, I'm Clay Aiken. To hear the full episode, subscribe to This Politicon podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to pods. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show. Go to Politicon.com, follow @Politicon on social media, and listen to a new pod episode of How the Heck every Thursday.